Honey Badger here. This week I had the unfortunate experience of a tenant calling me and saying all the water in the house has no pressure. All the faucets don't have any pressure in the house, but the hose bibs are giving me good pressure. So just whatever's in the house is not working, down to a trickle, or not flowing at all. So I go over there. I go into the master bath. That's, his faucet, his sink's faucet, both hot and cold, nothing coming out. Unscrew the aerator, and this is what I find. You know what this is? That is water softener resin. Yay! Yeah, he has a water softener, and the resin filter basket broke, and resin made its way into the entire house plumbing and the water heater and every fixture. And it was just a nightmare. So I spent the next 2 days, total of 12 hours, trying to clear all of this stuff out. And I was a little too frustrated to do a video on that, and also I didn't really want to do that at a tenant's house, but I want to give you the benefit of some of the little tips and tricks I had to use, and I had to pull out every engineering trick in the book to get some of those lines cleared. So I'm going to kind of basically tell you what I did and how I was able to get everything cleared and what steps I took. So let's get started. First I'm going to show you, what happened to the water softener, so you have a good understanding of what can happen to your water softener. So we'll go take a look at that next. I brought the tenant's resin tank home with me, and I'm going to clean it all out and everything and get it ready, and then I'll take it back now that it's all cleaned and refill it with new resin. But this is the resin I pulled out of it, so I mean there was still quite a bit of resin left in the tank. Thankfully, he just called me immediately, and I was over there within 30 minutes, and so we were able to probably limit the amount of resin, because there actually were a few, he wasn't even aware of it, but there were a few places where the water was still running. But emptied the tank, took out the riser tube with the filter basket, and this is what I found. It had just collapsed, and then you can see it split right there, and that's where all the little beads just decided to climb up through the pipe and into the residence water system. So I think this was because his pressure regulating valve had failed. I went out there to the water supply and checked the PRV, or checked the pressure. Sorry for that interruption. So I went out and checked the PRV, or the water pressure, and he was sitting at about 88 psi. So that's fairly high, higher than it should be for PRV. The max pressure on those is usually 75 psi. But and then also, these heads here, this is just a regular Fleck valve. The heads come with a top filter that fits over this tube. In fact, I'm gonna go get it so you can see what it looks like, because you can order those on Amazon. They're like $10, and I highly recommend, if you have to rebed your water softener, which you would do if you, for instance, you turn on a faucet, you have good flow, and then the flow just starts decreasing, and then goes down to maybe a trickle. That's probably your resin going bad. If you put your water softener in bypass mode, then you'll be able to know for sure. If you put it in bypass mode and your water pressures are fine, then yeah, your resin has gone bad and you need to rebed your water softener. So there's other videos out there about doing that. Maybe I'll do one too, I don't know. But when you do rebed your water softener, make sure you replace this tube. You buy another tube, and you may have to cut it to size for your tank. You know, you just basically take out the old one and make, you know, cut the new one to the same size. But this basket can get kind of brittle over time, especially if you have a lot of chloramines in the water, and so that can also cause this to fail, you know, if it gets brittle, and then maybe you get a pressure hammer or something and it causes a piece to break off. That's all it takes. All it takes is one little spot for those beads to get through, and you're up a creek. So always replace the tube if you're going to rebed your water softener. And then also I'm going to go get that basket and show that to you as well. This is what I ordered off of Amazon, the upper basket right here, and it's just like a quarter turn fastening. You just fasten it on here, put it in here, and then give it a quarter turn to lock it in. I'm not going to do it right now, but that's where that basket goes. So I highly recommend also replacing that basket, you know, just because it's plastic too. It can degrade, and it also offers some protection. So go ahead and do that as well. So getting back to the problem at hand, so the first thing I did once I saw that the resin was bad, or the resin had escaped, is go put the water softener in bypass mode. And you know, this is not the water softener, this is my water softener, but you know, the first thing you're going to want to do is turn these. You'll have some kind of knob, turn it 90 degrees. Hopefully you have a bypass on your water softener, and then that will disconnect the water softener from the loop, and you'll just come from your inlet straight through to your outlet. And so you don't have to worry about getting additional resin into your tank. The second thing you're going to have to do is you almost certainly have resin in your water heater now. So you will have to drain the water heater. The system that I worked with did not have a shut-off valve, so I had to go shut off the main and then drain the heater. Drain it completely out. You can use the pressure release valve to allow air in here so that, you know, you don't get a little vacuum, and you can drain all the water out. If you can, hook up a hose, and actually you might want to consider doing this if you are going to drain your water heater. If you're the type that likes to maintain your water heater and maybe flush it out every once in a while, if you drain it, it would be a good time to go ahead and actually put in, you know, a much nicer drain valve. And, you know, because I can just basically, I put in a wider one, you know, because the one that comes on these things, they're so small, it takes forever to drain. You don't get any good pressure coming out of them. I can get just massive water pressure coming out of here with this quarter turn and this 3/4 inlet valve, shut-off valve, and then also, you know, putting this on the end of it, I can just stick a bucket under here, and man, I can drain this thing out fast. Or I can, you know, I could get a hose adapter and hook up a hose if I wanted to. But might be worth doing if you're actually going through the trouble of draining your water heater. But anyway, drain it, and then you're going to have to turn the water back on and start flushing it. Try to get as much, because there's probably still going to be, you know, beads in the bottom of the tank, and you're going to have to try to circulate them and get them get them moving and get them out of there. And so you got to continuously monitor this for beads, and I mean, you just got to keep flushing it until there's no more beads left in your hot water tank. It could take, gosh, I don't know how many trips we made with buckets, 5-gallon buckets. I think we probably emptied maybe 40 or 50 buckets before we didn't see any more beads. And you can feel it when you first start doing it. I mean, you can feel it in your hand. You can feel the beads hitting your hand when it's draining. And if you're using a hose, you could maybe take like a t-shirt or some piece of cloth and put it over the end of the hose and just let it run out through the t-shirt and use that as a filter, and then see if you catch beads. And when you no longer catch beads, you know, going through that cloth, then you'll know that you've got this taken care of. So that's kind of step one after you put the softener in bypass. So then the next thing you're ready to do is go start attacking the system in the house. And I would recommend trying to clear the farthest ones from the water supply. So like on the back side of the house, I guess, if your water comes in the front, you go to the back side of the house and start clearing those. I mean, first thing you want to do is take off every single aerator on every single faucet, and you might get lucky. I got lucky. The hot water was not as bad as the cold water, and so I was able to get flow on the hot waters, but the cold waters were so bad that I could literally take the supply, you know, you get the little shutoff valve under the sink, right? I could open up the shutoff valve and take off the hose, and not a drop would come out while it was under pressure. So it was that bad. Was able to clear, you know, a good bit of it. But here's a couple of the tricks that I used to do the more stubborn ones. So maybe this will be helpful to y'all. Since on some of the sinks I got one side to work but not the other, I bought a 20-inch flex tube, and this is like the water supply tube, but it's the same fitting on both sides. So it's the side that, you know, it goes onto your shutoff valve under the sink. And so what I did was I connected the hot to the cold, and then I opened up a bunch of faucets. Like I had some cold supplies already cleared, so I opened up all those faucets to reduce the cold water pressure, and then I opened up the hot water side, and then so it basically back flushed the hot water side into the cold water side, and it's trying to, you know, push that stuff back through. And I was able to clear a couple of more faucets or sinks by doing that method. So that's one trick. I had a particularly stubborn one in the master bath, and that did not work either. So let's see, was it the no, it wasn't the, yeah, it was under the kitchen sink, sorry. That one was really stubborn. So here's another trick you can do. You're going to want to shut off the cold water supply, or, you know, yeah, shut off your main water supply, I should say. And you know, if you have blockage there, get yourself a bucket and disconnect the hose, so you have some hose to work through. So this end that would go to your sink, into your faucet, you know, this end is on the shutoff valve, this end is on the faucet. So then you can open up your shutoff valve with the water shut off. And then I used a tire pressure or tire inflation, you know, battery powered tire inflator, and it came with some different attachments, and this attachment here was just perfect. You know, normally this is a threaded thing to go on your tires, right? But this little attachment that you thread it on, and then it fits. You just stick it on there and you just push it onto the end of this hose, and then just turn it on. You'll know it's working if the pressure starts going way up. I think I went up to like 35 or 40 psi of pressure, and then all of a sudden it started dropping and went down to near zero. And so that's when you know that you've pushed that resin back out through the pipe and at least broken it up. So that's step one. Then get your significant other to work the main water shut-off valve while you're on the phone with her. And what you want to do is you want to slowly turn the water back on. So you don't want to have, you know, a big force that's going to just kind of force that resin back into where it was. You want it to be able to kind of slowly leak out of the sink. You know, since you've taken the aerator off, you basically just have to get past the shutoff valve and then, you know, out the aerator and down into the drain. So that's my recommendation for that, is to not, you know, don't put the water on full force again, you know, once you think you've cleared it. And the same thing with the master tub. I had to pull out there was no water coming out of the master tub, so I had to take the handle off. I had to pull the pull the temperature controller valve. Let me show you. Let's see. Let me go get that. I'll show you what I had to pull for that. So this house had a mowing tub, and these are just, you know, the right left turn. It doesn't pull out. If it pulls out to, you know, bring on the water, that's a different, or to turn on the water, that's a different kind of cartridge. But these are just the 1222 series of cartridge. And I also bought a core puller to be able to pull that out, because sometimes they get stuck in there and they're really hard to get out. So this is actually a removal tool to be able to pull that valve out. So you may have to do that, and you may have to make like some kind of a funnel, depending on how far, like once you pull it out, if that piping, you know, that this goes into, what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to flush it with this removed. So again, you're going to have somebody outside or wherever your main shutoff is start turning on the water, and you're going to have to be able to tell them when to shut it off. This was the messiest part of the job, because it was, you know, slightly behind the tile, and I was trying to get the water diverted so none of it went behind the tile, you know, and then down into the framing. So that's something you'll have to be cautious of when you're trying to flush that line. And you know, another thing you might try is, like, if you could do it with air, you might be able to do it with the pump. Like if you took maybe a rubber stopper or something and put a hole in it, and then, you know, covered that opening, and was able to pressurize it and, you know, push that stuff back out, might be another way to do it. But I just decided to try to push it through with the water. So yeah, you got to be real careful not to let that, you know, go back into, you know, behind the wall, you know, depending on how far that thing sticks out, because that pipe is gonna, depending on how they roughed it in, it could be outside or it could be farther in. So that's one thing to be cautious of. But yeah, that was fun too. And again, you know, you don't want to turn on the water too hard. You just want to kind of leave a little bit and maybe let the pressure build. And so in this case, if you're trying to clear the tub, you want to close all your other valves, all your other faucets, so that, you know, the full pressure is going out of this. And then try to clear the hot and cold sides. And they'll both automatically clear, because you're basically getting water from both sides flowing out of there when you turn that on, when you turn on your supply. So I guess those were the biggest things. And of course, you also have to do all of your appliances. So your dishwasher, you gotta check your water lines there. So you want to flush out the water lines, and you know, they have filters on the back where you disconnect from the washer. There's going to be filters inside, little screens that you're going to have to pull out and make sure that they're clean, free of debris. And then go ahead and flush those hoses, the water through those hoses, until you don't see any beads anymore. Your refrigerator, if you've got water dispenser in your refrigerator, that can clog too. So you may have to, I did not have to do this on mine, but you know, you may have to disconnect it from the fridge and flush that. But we didn't really see any contaminants in the refrigerator line, thankfully. But that is one you got to check. Let's see, the washer, the dishwasher, yeah, you also got to pull the dishwasher and disconnect that and check those lines. You know, basically anywhere that there's water, you could potentially have beads. So you know, have fun. It really sucks, but you know, it's like I said, it took 12 hours for me to do this. You know, maybe I could do a little faster now that I, you know, kind of learned some of the tricks to handle it. But you know, it's just not fun. And so I guess my best advice for y'all is try not to let it get to that point where it could happen. And you know, routinely check your pressure, your house pressure. You know, get yourself a water gauge, hook it up to a hose bib. You know, check it every once in a while, because you know, your PRV can fail and you may not really notice it too much. I mean, I don't know if you'll notice that you'll get more, you know, higher pressure than normal, but you know, that's a contributing factor. And then, like I say, also just, you know, when the resin gets old, but hopefully you'll just have more of a needing to rebed before the basket breaks situation. Anyway, I hope these tips help. You know, you just don't want to have to do this. It's basically what I'm saying. So good luck to you if you do. Try not to get too frustrated. Honey Badger out.